Let me give you a minute to sort of that because you can probably, and I think we are live streaming now. So let's welcome the people on the live stream. As I saw the icon, so welcome people on the live stream. We apologize to you not being able to come in. We had some technical difficulties, but welcome to our live stream, people. And okay, Christopher, I'm going to give you a minute and I'm going to go on to Akina. What do you want to do?
If we're hearing him and we're hearing you now when you're answering our question, we probably try to stay in that same position and probably keep your voice because you're leaning forward when you're answering us, but when you're presenting, you're leaning back.
So
So you
stay
probably need
forward.
to
Yeah, maybe stay forward.
stay in the same position together.
So should I try again or do you want Miss Akina to go?
Go ahead and try again, but stay in that position where we're hearing you now. Like pause right
stay
there.
Forward.
Yes.
Okay. I'm aware that I haven't been involved in guild affairs.
Sorry, Christian, come forward. Lean forward again. Yeah, like that. Good. Hopefully that works. I don't know. We're trying.
Continue?
Yes.
I'm aware that I haven't been involved in guild affairs for a period of time, but I strongly believe that continuity is the key to progression. Therefore, my experiences as treasurer. Yes, miss?
Go ahead. At this point, we're hearing you.
As treasurer, my mission is to actively manage your financial resources and to ensure that the guild is held accountable to you, the student body. Quarterly basis and making some investments in long-term assets. As ESG treasurer, I am cognizant of the fact that we may not all be accountants. As a result, multiple formats to make them more easily understood by the general student body.
Christian.
This will include, yes, miss?
I'm sorry. A suggestion was made that maybe if you turned off your camera, you may get better reception. I'm just suggesting because at least 80% of your speech is being lost in the gabble. So let's try that for a moment and see if it would make any difference.
Yeah, so Christian, try that, but I want you to start over, okay?
Yes, miss.
If that's okay with you. Yes, let's get the gist of it. So start over.
From the beginning, right?
Yeah, I'll reset your time. Don't worry.
Okay, understood.
Okay.
A warm welcome to my fellow students, student development unit, and all others present. My name is Christian Charles, and I aspire to serve our student body as the executive. My campus, I enjoyed a well-balanced student experience, oftentimes initiating extracurricular activities, while also excelling in my academics, which I believe is fundamental for not only a successful college career, but your personal holistic development. I am aware that I haven't been involved in guild affairs for a period of time, but I strongly believe. Therefore, all current or future goals and endeavors of the Guild shall be properly revised and executed in correlation with my own objectives. Let me speak from solely my experiences and observations during my time as a treasurer. I was never satisfied with the transparency and the almost forced democratic system which took place during a lot of the decision making. I never felt fully informed of the current financial affairs of the guild. I never felt as if there was a choice or option. I felt as though the bare minimum of information and effort was given, just enough so that votes can be passed. In conclusion, I never felt as if I had a voice. As treasurer, my mission is to actively manage your financial resources and to ensure that the guild is held accountable to you, the student body. I plan to achieve these goals by not only using core values of integrity, transparency, and innovation, but by utilizing my other coherent strategies. These strategies include producing reports in detail in an innovative manner, issuing financial reports at a quarterly basis, and making some investments in long-term assets. As ESG treasurer, I am cognizant of the fact that we may not all be accountants. As a result, I plan to prepare presentations of budgets and other financial reports in multiple formats to make them more easily understood by the general student body. This will include using an array of visual techniques to present this financial data, such as bar and line graphs. Also, as it relates to reports, I do not believe that a budget issued in semester 1 and a final statement issued in semester 2 are enough to be held accountable to you, the student body, which we are elected to serve. You, the students, are the ones who provide the funding through payments of guild fees, and as such, we should be held more accountable to you. Hence, I propose to issue quarterly reports to improve the transparency and accountability of the guild. As treasurer, I would like to look into more long-term assets. Assets in this case reflect to anything that the guild owns, and long-term would reflect to anything more than a year. This pandemic has shown us that we cannot merely depend on events as a way to generate further income. Moreover, whilst merchandise holds a major part of our finances, I plan to include a wider variety of merchandise that the students want. I do recognize I am only one of the 6 elected guild officers on the ESG and one of potentially 22 on the finance committee. Hence, if elected as treasurer, I would carry out my duty to critically and objectively analyzing budgets and proposals of each chapter. Every chapter would be coming with their own mandates and goals to this executive, most of which would certainly be of some cost to the guild. It is therefore my duty to ensure that these mandates and goals are executed in the most feasible and economic manner possible. If these are the plans you wish to see executed, and you are ready to make your voice heard, I encourage you to vote Christian Charles for ESG treasurer. Thank you, Miss.
Okay, thank you very much, Christian. We are going to go straight to Ms. Akina Jones, who is also going up for the position of treasurer. When Ms. Akina is finished, then we will open for questions to this position. Ms. Akina?
Hi, you all hear me clearly?
Yes, we are.
Okay, great. Good morning to the returning officer, the moderator, all other candidates. A very special good morning to you, our chapter guild elected officers, and of course, our students streaming live this debate, to friends, family, and supporters. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to offer myself for the position of treasurer on the Executive Student Guild of the National University, UTT, once more. Though many of you may already know me, to those of you who I haven't had the pleasure, and those of you who may have forgotten, allow me to reintroduce myself. I am Akina Jones. On the eve of the elections, I have prepared for you a few points that you may use to guide your decision tomorrow. Firstly, I must state that no matter what else we share today, I strongly believe that you would make the right choice in selecting the right person for the job as ESG treasurer. Not because I know something that the other candidates do not know, and definitely not because I have some insider's information or magic that can make me see into the future, but because I am confident in the ability of the elected officers of the Student Guild to do what is right and to stand by their decision with pride and conviction. That being said, I am not here to woo you with promises, but with performance. Not to sell you dreams, but to show you results. not to give you false hope and images, but to define accountability and transparency. Elected officers of the Student Guild, I'm here to give you a candidate with experience you can trust. A little over 2 years ago, like many of you, I wondered, what does UTTHD do with all its money? Let me correct, on my money. Because after all, it is my money, it is your money, it is our money that is paying the UTTHD, right? So I did what any sane person might do, and I asked. Then I did the craziest thing ever, and then I joined. But as crazy as that might seem, I enjoyed every single moment being an elected officer of the Student Guild, and I would not have wanted it any other way. I performed as an outstanding chapter president for APA, which during that time I was assigned the signatory for the ESG, and I also headed several committees that was established to execute the UTTSG strategic plan. My performance led to the appointment of acting ESG treasurer immediately after my chapter division term ended, and I served in that capacity for over 4 months. When I was elected as the ESG treasurer of 2019 to 2020, my continued performance led to the appointment in many other roles. I performed as the ESG PRO, the ESG VP, and even the ESG president in many instances. My performance did not only influence the UTTSG, but allowed me many appointments not usually extended to the ESG treasurer, such as sitting on UTT Academic Council, the Student Financial Aid Committee, the Sports and Leisure Committee, and so much more. Now, that's just a short stint of what performance truly is. As I said, no promises, but performance. Now, moderator, how much time do I have left?
You have just about 3 to 4 minutes.
Okay. That is not enough time for me to even begin to tell you the results that was produced through those performances. But here's just a few that truly stands out, not just in my opinion, but in the history of the UTTSG. Investment where it matters. Performing in my role led to the UTTSG recognizing its investments so that you and I, as students, can truly benefit from the expenditure made by the UTTSG. We quickly transformed expenditure to fall under the mantra that if the results cannot be measured in long-term satisfaction of students, it simply may not be worth it. Many of you enjoy those investments today. For instance, the rebranding of the UTTSG to revitalizing logos and placement like on-campus apparel. Other investments include the Student Activity Room Refurbishment Project, where we embarked on a drive to ensure that all main campuses has a state-of-the-art leisure space for us students completing in my performance was SFTI, ECIAF, and the beginning works of the APA campus. Not dreams, guys, results. In my time, I'm also supposed to present my future plans and to give you that our future is bright and shall be prosperous. I stand for accountability and for transparency, so trust me when I say that the hope that I give is far from false, but rooted in performance and facts. As the ESG treasurer, I presented to UTT the very first financial statement in over 10 years. Something I plan to continue as it should. It's a new constitution and I ensured that it was in there. Being accountable meant that I cannot simply expend guild finance, but I was tasked in finding innovative ways in generating revenue for the UTTSG. And for that, I surely did, which for the first time, we saw the UTTSG generating hundreds of thousands of dollars for the first time in its very existence. Revenue generation plans included signature events like Aftermath, Unation, Graduation Ball, and other initiatives like campus merchandise, graduation rings, and the student activity room. All that are set to continue and keep generating revenue as projected through careful financial analysis done by the Student Guild Finance Committee. Most interestingly, something I hope that we could overcome, but what would it mean if success comes without trials and tribulations? Like fighting for our right for financial independence. Though it is enshrined in the Constitution that our right to govern our financial resources is always being challenged. And at no time we can waver, as we have deserved the right to say that we shall and shall not do with the finances that was entrusted to us by the students of UTT.
Ms. Akina, you just
And
have
no
1 minute to wrap up.
okay, and no one shall ever try to convince us otherwise. We are the Guild of Students, and I will continue to take this fight to anyone who opposes our sovereignty as an autonomous body of students in charge of its own financial affairs. Before I go, I remind you of your duty to convey the message that you would vote on the right choice for ESU Treasurer, one who is not here to woo you with promises but with performance, an ESG treasurer who would not sell you dreams but has a track record of proven results. By the way, did I mention that the financial standing under my management doubled from 1 million to 2 million? That's why I'm absolutely positive you are not convinced with false hope and pretty images, but you are convinced to make the right choice to elect an ESG treasurer that can be held accountable and remains transparent. So elected officers of the Student Guild, over the next day or two, vote for the right person for ESG Treasurer. Akina Jones, the only candidate with experience you can trust. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Ms. Akina Jones. Okay, so we had two candidates that just presented for the position of treasurer. We had Mr. Christian Charles and Ms. Akina Jones. Please filter your questions now to either of these candidates, or you can pose one question that they both have to answer. Don't rush all at once. To our people on the live stream, you are allowed to ask questions as well. Please place your questions in the chat, and Mr. Beryl Jofield will filter the questions over to us. No questions for the people that are about to say about the money? Come on. You all trust them. Again, and for the people in this Zoom, remember if you don't want to ask your question out loud, you can send your questions private message to Ms. Tavares.
Hi, good day. PRO
Hi.
Shagran. A question to both candidates. Well, firstly, he spoke about transparency, and then Akina spoke about the financial statement. So, with regards to that, would we, the student guild chapters, be able to see the statements?
Christian Charles, this question is directed towards both of us or just
Yeah, both of us. Well, both of you all, sorry. So with regards to transparency, if the financial statements are continued, would we be able to see it?
Okay, so I could speak on that. The financial statement, the Student Guild receives two separate, and then we present it to the Student Guild Finance Committee. And in the Student Guild Finance Committee, we have presidents, VPs, the treasurers and assistant treasurers. So once we receive the financial statement quarterly, it is presented in the Student Guild Finance Committee, and they could ask their questions. They would see the money that has been spent or being spent, and if like our money has went up or went down, because we all understand that our finances come from the students. So obviously, like within the first semester, if people drop out within a certain time period, they do get a refund. So then we could see that we are projected to have 1 million, but then later on, we probably just have 800,000 or so forth. So it is there that the student guild do see presidents and treasurers are on that committee, so they can report back to the rest of their team as they see fit. And with regards to the student body, the yearly financial statement is submitted to the students. We are working on a template, or they have been working on a template that is appropriate to release to the student body that they can understand and read, and so they can see where their finances are going, basically.
All right, thanks.
All right.
Sarah
And
Hunt, President of Stamina Campus.
Just
We have one
moment.
student.
One moment before you continue, just to ensure. It was posed to both candidates. Candidate A, still expect your response in that regard as to how will you ensure that the statements are made available to the chapters and the students.
Well, from my experience, I believe that we should be held more accountable to the students. So I do not believe one time per year is enough to show the students where their money is going. That's something I would like to change. And I think Akina clarified everything else.
Okay, thank you. Now we can welcome other questions.
Thank you, Sarah Hunt, President of Tamana Student Guild Chapter. We have one student from Tamana asking both candidates, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, what are your plans to secure and continue to bring in revenue to the Student Guild?
Christian Charles here. As I said in my speech, because of this whole change and pandemic, I don't believe we can merely rely on events as we did before to bring in revenue. So I believe long-term assets should be prioritized, and that will be done with the innovative and creative mind of the Finance Committee to determine what is the most feasible and economic manner to initiate assets, and also the merchandise. I think that is too limited. The students want more, and that should be a total change, not necessarily change, but addition to the merchandise industry to bring in revenue to the Student Guild. Thank you.
Okay, so Kristen, you finished?
Yep.
Okay. So innovation is a word we heard a lot over COVID. And guess what? I have already started planning for a concept called Deja World, which is basically a virtual simulation where we can have something very similar to what UNation was. This can also be a form of revenue generation where we can basically rent out booths to different entities so that they could put their product or their service on display to the student body and by extension the public. So this is a project that has been undertaken in my last tenure, and we have been working on, and we are suggesting it for whoever is coming in the position to do, whether it is myself or the next ESG treasurer or whoever is in the position of the ESG. So that one is one form of revenue. We are also looking at the student activity rooms. So as much as you cannot go into the activity rooms now, when you are permitted to go back on campus, that's another form of where revenue can be generated, not to the ESG specifically, but to the chapters, because they could find innovative ways in terms of utilizing the student activity rooms, whether it is renting it out to clubs and societies, or you creating mini jobs, somebody to monitor the activity rooms daily or weekly and so forth. And lastly, he mentioned, and the student activity rooms could also offer opportunity for students to sell their stuff. So those entrepreneurs on campus, they could sell their stuff in the student activity room by liaising with the student guild. So now students have a way to help their business grow, right? Also, the merchandise, this has already been established, and we are continuing to add more merchandise to our catalog. And in my year and planning to continue, I have worked with the Marketing, Events and Promotions Committee aside from SGFC, to continue to promote. So they are right now working on having a catalog. They're taking images and videos for promotional aspects. We also worked on this. I also worked on the UTTSG's website, which should be up and running within the coming week. There, the Student Guild merchandise will be advertised so that now they can it has online marketing and students can purchase through the website by filling out a form, and that will be sent to the SU treasurer and they will dispatch where it is pick up, delivery, and so forth. And this will be working whether in COVID times or on campus. It is very flexible. So those are some of my ways of generating revenue for the Student Guild and the chapter and so forth.
Thank you both. Any other question towards the persons going up for the position of treasurer? Anything on the
idea, PRO? Is the finance committee responsible for the dormitory fees that students may have to pay and be refunded at the end of their stay?
No.
And if so, okay. Thank you.
That goes through dorms and whoever is in charge of dorms.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Jofield, any questions from the live stream?
Not yet thus far. Just remember that the live stream is 45 seconds behind the actual Zoom. So I may record those questions and post them later on.
No problem.
Sarah Hunt, president of Samana, I have a student is asking where's the money is being allocated to concerning guild fees?
Please clarify who you are posting your question to so the candidates would know. If it's a question to both, you say both. If it's a question to candidate A or candidate B, please address the question accordingly. Who?
Both candidates.
Okay, candidate A.
At this time, the position I'm in, I am not fully informed of where the monies are being allocated to. So I believe this is a question for candidate B.
Okay. So the money is allocated through a budget that is set at the end, basically at the end of the first semester, where the Student Guild Finance Committee, like I reiterate, presidents, VPs, treasurers, and assistant treasurers sit on that committee along with the ESG president and the ESG treasurer. When we set on budget for that money, it is allocated to you, to us. All initiatives that we budget for is all catered to the students. So the students' activity room is budgeted for, and that is for you, the students, to enjoy. Orientation, that is for you, the students, to enjoy. Sports, graduation, all our events, all those are what we budget for at the end of the first semester, and you benefit from all those initiatives. Even we also allocate to intercampus or try to enhance intercampus events, and we take that into consideration. So even as much as that is a UTC event, we still have some play in it in terms of if we need to bring more students from Tobago so that Tobago could feel involved. So at the end of the day, it still goes back to you. One thing we also end up budgeting for because of the COVID pandemic was allocation of laptops for students in need. So when working with the Student Financial Aid Committee, we decided that we created a benevolence fund where we would donate finances so that we could help all the students that is having a hard time during this COVID pandemic. And one of those things is access to devices. So all the money goes back to the students. That is our main focus. We try to make sure that the students benefit as much as possible. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you all very much for your questions so far to the candidates for the position of treasurer. In the essence of time, you all could post your questions in the chat, but we're going to move on to the other candidates. And once time permits, we will ask the questions at the end. All right? So moving on, we're going to the position of VP and have the candidate, Mr. Javal Joseph. Javal, you can start your presentation now.
Everyone hear me clearly?
Yes.
Okay, good morning, student development officers, elected student guild officers, current ESG members, candidates, and all our guests. Before introducing myself, I'd like to thank each one of you for giving me this opportunity to present myself to you as a candidate for the position of Executive Student Guild Vice President. My name is Javal Joseph, and today I'll be giving you a sneak peek of some of the things that I intend to achieve or to begin working toward if I am elected ESG Vice President. Just a little background on myself. I completed my diploma in software engineering at the UTT San Fernando campus, and I'm currently pursuing my bachelor's in computer science at the UTT Point Lisas campus. I have served on the San Fernando Chapter Guild as both Vice President and Public Relations Officer within the year 2019 to 2020, and I have learned a lot in my time there. On the San Fernando campus, I'm known to be a very vibrant individual, always in interaction with my fellow students. And I believe that I can take this a step forward from being on one campus to being on many campuses by becoming a part of the Executive Student Guild. Now let's take a look at some of my goals for the upcoming tenure. These goals are of course not listed in any specific order, and I view each of them as important to the development of our student body, our student guild, and our university. Goal number 1, to raise awareness to the student body. Now, the first question that may pop in your head is awareness to what? Awareness of their rights as students of the National University of Trinidad and Tobago. Our student population deserves to know what they have access to, who they have access to, when do they have access to them, how do they have access to them, and where can they find them. We all know the saying, give a man a fish and you feed him for a day, but teach a man how to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. And from my personal interaction with students, I've grown to realize that they are often unaware of what their rights are. And I believe we can make a huge difference by making the effort to provide information to our students in a place that this generation feels most comfortable, social media. As a software engineer, I believe the skills that I bring to the table can be channeled into bettering our student guild website that most of you may not know about yet, but as the previous treasurer mentioned, it's on the way. Combined with the vast variety of skills currently present at the student guild, we can create a social media presence like none before. We can break the mold. My second goal is to improve the relationship that the UTT Student Guild has with the UTT Directorship. In order for us to be able to represent the student body in the best way possible, we must be able to maintain valuable relationships where it counts. I believe that the relationship that the Student Guild has with the UTT Directorship can be vastly improved by simply changing our approach. I intend to propose a comply or explain relationship with the UTT Directorship. This means that a general standard would be set by the directorship, and if we agree, we comply. But if we disagree, we are given a fair opportunity to explain why we disagree, and even possibly the opportunity to present an alternative. This method would provide for greater innovation and flexibility amongst the student guild and the organization, while still being bounded by a regulated standard. This is not something I plan to achieve overnight, of course. Mending a relationship takes time, building a relationship takes time, but it is indeed something that I most definitely plan to work toward. Goal number 3, to implement new and innovative ways to inform the student body that we, the Student Guild, do exist. So the Student Guild carried out a performance survey in early 2020, and the results showed that 61% of our students do not utilize the services provided by the Student Guild, and 48% of our student body do not attend student guild events. And this is considering that out of the remaining 52%, 38% is simply from attending student orientation, which most students don't even know is held by the student guild. I plan to implement what I would call student guild season. This is a period which would happen annually, that the student guild would go around to various campuses and host events such as fairs, festivals, competitions, etc., in effort to give the student guild a greater presence among the students on their campuses. Goal number 4, to create a consistent platform where various campuses can become more involved with each other. While yes, there are events that assist with campus interaction, I simply believe that there should be more. Football, cricket, table tennis, sports day, Unation are all great ways for students to interact with each other. But this only targets a specific group of students, those who are interested in outdoor activities. For students who prefer to stay at home and interact over the internet, there is nothing consistently in place for them. Now more than ever, we should be focused on the online side of things. My idea is a UTT Discord server. The idea of a UTT Discord server would resonate in the mind of many of our students, and it can be a platform to build many other smaller communities. It can be a catalyst to the interaction between our campuses, our clubs, our programs, and our student body. Discord is a platform where, just in case you did not know what Discord is, it's a platform where people can meet together and interact via voice channels, video channels, messaging channels. And it's often with a group of people who have something in common. In this case, it would be UTT as the basis. And it can be split up into smaller communities. It really makes communication a lot easier. From my personal experience, I have witnessed this. And it gives the students that flexibility and relaxation in their interaction. My 5th goal, to make the student guild experience a more exciting and memorable one. The student guild is here to serve and represent the student body, but often we seem to forget that we are also part of the student body. This is a voluntary duty, and I believe we should put more effort into giving ourselves that escape and relaxation that we so deeply crave at times. The student guild isn't always the easiest thing to be a part of, and sometimes we want an escape. I intend to implement a yearly student guild retreat to kick this initiative off. Of course, it's not limited to this only, but as a member of the Pathfinder Club and being an avid camper, I intend to make this idea a reality within my tenure, as long as the restrictions of COVID-19 does prevent it. Sorry. These are just some of the main ideas that I plan to work toward or to achieve during my tenure, and I look forward to working on them along with each and every one of you. So, the only thing that I have left to say to you now is join me for a prouder you, a stronger we, and a better UTT. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Javal Joseph. We are now open to questions to Javal. Anyone has a question for the candidate for the position of Vice President? Come on, this is someone who is about to hopefully get a position to lead you. You must have burning questions to ask him.
Hi, good day. This is Nokusi Lawrence, Treasurer for Point Lisa's chapter. My question is, how do you plan to get interaction from campuses that are known to be more, secluded to just their academic lives, like say Point Lisa's campus, because they are more aligned to just come to school to do schoolwork and disappearance. So what are your plans to get the students to form clubs and take part in events and these sort of things?
Okay, thank you for your question. So my simple answer to that, okay, in case, well, no, some people here would not know, but I was a past member of the San Fernando campus, and The San Fernando campus is known as one of those campuses that just comes to school to do academic. And I believe my accomplishment at the San Fernando campus has been really good in terms of student interaction, and that has been because of one simple thing: interaction with them. I always communicate with the students, I always interact with them, I always find out what they want. I don't just push something out because I want to push it out. I push something out because the students want me to push it out. So, in the case of a campus that may not necessarily want to have to be part of a club or whatnot, as I explained before, one of my goals is to have a UTT Discord server. And this is simply something that you can, when you go home, you can simply click one button and join a channel and just speak to people about anything, about games, about schoolwork, anything. It's just as simple as WhatsApp. And I'm pretty sure that every single person here listening to me uses WhatsApp. So as I say, it's as simple as WhatsApp. And this is one of the ways I intend to implement a student who is not so keen on the physical interaction. Thank you for your question.
Okay, any other question?
Nicosi Lawrence again, Treasure Point Research Chapter. I have a follow-up question
Continue.
concerning the Discord server that you mentioned. Because I know about Discord, I'm on a few servers myself. So my question is, if we are making a Discord server for the whole university, how do you intend to go about moderation? Because that can be an issue, especially for servers that will be this large.
Okay, so thank you for your question again. And in terms of moderation for this, there are simple ways to organize moderation for Discord servers. As we are a large organization, a large organization also comes with a large amount of people who can be trained to be moderators, or people who already have experience being moderators on Discord servers. And I myself am a part of very large Discord servers, and I I learn from example. I can learn from example, and I saw how it is handled and how it is managed, and I do intend to copy some of their methods along with some that I have myself. So there is enough people to be able to handle the moderating of the Discord server. I hope that answered your question.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay. If there are no other questions for the candidate, we will move on.
So I have one question um, um, from on the live. The question is from user iAlexCod5. What are your plans for clubs during the pandemic? This is to the candidate for ESGVP.
Okay, thank you for your question, Alex. So as I mentioned, I will go back to the Discord server because a club is not only something that can be physical. A club can be implemented in many different ways. And especially during this COVID period, I believe that we should focus on more online aspects of clubbing, aside from the physical aspects, as I mentioned, like football, cricket. We can also focus, like, for example, Among Us. Among Us is something that has came up very high during this COVID period. Why? Because it's something that is online that you can still interact with each other. And this is also what a Discord server is. So seeing that we may have certain clubs, such as football clubs, it doesn't have to be surrounded with physical activities such as football games. It can simply be something as everybody come together to watch the next football game. The big football game, Manchester United versus Liverpool just the other day. I'm pretty sure that would have been a big event for a football club. So it doesn't always have to be physical. I hope that answered your question.
Okay.
Thank you. Second question. Not sure the question. It wasn't posed as a question. Yes, it was. What are your plans to actually ensure that students are aware of their rights?
Okay, so one of the ways that I want to ensure, or should I say, push out the word of their rights is by using the Student Guild website. Now, as mentioned before, the Student Guild website is not yet live. So I am not totally sure as to what is the extent of what I can do with the website. But as a software engineer, I am confident that whatever there is for me, I can either make it better or use it to the best of my ability to be able to give the students the best awareness that they need. And it should be there present in their face at all times. It's not something that would be out here every month. It's every day it will be pushed out to the students.
Thank you. That is it for the live, Madam Moderator. I will
Okay.
continue streaming the questions once they come in.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jofiel. If there are no other questions for Mr. Javal Joseph, we will now move on to the final candidate for today's proceeding, Miss Melissa Messiah, the candidate for the position of president. Melissa?
Good morning, members of the Student Development Office, President of the ESG, Mr. Jofiel, members of the Student Guild, fellow candidates, and the viewing audience. First of all, let me start off by saying this is going to be short and sweet because I am not one for long-winded speeches or presentations. For those of you who do not know me, let me introduce myself. My name is Melissa Messiah. I am a full-time student of the Tamana campus. I am currently in my final year of my Bachelor of Education, specializing in special needs. I am a student with a physical disability, and I am running for the position of Executive Guild President. I am running because I believe that I can contribute through this office towards the holistic development of the student body population and in turn, the University of Trinidad and Tobago. I believe that I am well suited for this position because I have garnered experience not only in the position of Valtain Student Guild President, but alongside the other NGOs and charitable organizations I have been fortunate to be part of over the years. These opportunities allowed me to develop the skills of communication, leadership, decisive decision-making, empathy, flexibility, adaptability, and crisis management. I have the strength of character and integrity and courage it takes to make popular and unpopular decisions, thus making me an ideal candidate for this position. First, let me start off by acknowledging the great work of the current ESG and the ESG of the past. I believe in Mr. Jofi's position of continuity, and as such, as a guild, we should be constantly moving forward. If I am elected, I would aim to promote the ideas and initiatives of all my members and the members of the chapter guilds. The ESG has the privilege of accessing the ideas of not only the chapter members, but also those of the students across the various campuses, and this is a resource I intend to fully utilize. I would also like to work engagement. This is an opportunity for us to think outside of the box to create avenues for socialization, because Socialization is an important balancing factor of the stresses of university life, and this, being our new normal, is a prime time for us to kick off some innovative thinking. I would like to educate and encourage students to read information posted for your benefit on the processes and procedures of the university. So like the incident stated by the candidate for ESG secretary would not occur. This will also raise the level of awareness highlighted by the candidate for vice president. To open up avenues for development both personally and professionally, as stated by both ESG candidate for public relations officer and secretary. I would also like to build greater awareness in the capacity of staff and students of the needs of students with disabilities among us. Although overall, the reception and assistance is always forthcoming at all campuses, as a developing school and by extension nation, much is still needed to be done. I would also like to extend my relationship of trust, reliability, and dependability throughout all the campuses so that you know that you are not only getting a president, but a champion who is ready to fight on your behalf. I think these aims will have a positive impact on our university life because as students, we want our opinions to be heard. We want to be acknowledged and we will no longer be ignored. For I am Tamana, I am Current, I am Tobago, I am Ekihaf, I am an extension of every campus under the university umbrella, for we are UTT. Thank you so much for giving of your time today to listen to my plans, and I am open to answer any question at this point in time that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Melissa. And we are now taking questions to the candidate for president of the ESG.
Good morning, Miss Melissa Messiah. I have a question. Well, Tunica Brewster, PRO for EKF chapter. I have a concern. Do you have any plans in place for disabled students in changing anything on the campus? Because at EKF campus, we don't really have, like if you need to go upstairs, it don't have a place really for someone in a wheelchair to get upstairs. In the classroom, they don't have like designated space for a disabled student in the classroom either. On one of the dorms, it have like a big washroom, but it's not like, it don't have like the disabled sign, so they would know, well, this is for disabled students or what the case may be. Neither does the all dorms have it. So that's my question. If there would be any, if you all would be facilitating any changes on the campuses to facilitate disabled students.
Thank you for your question, Mr. I think a lot of persons think when making accommodation for students with disability, they think of a lot of finance and a lot of expenditure towards the university itself. But sometimes it's just a change in thinking or a restructuring of the resources that we already have. For example, if there is a classroom that is not normally used, that could be transformed to house students who have a physical disability, because remember, disability comes in different form. The rearranging of just the desks and the chairs in the classroom where they could facilitate wider spaces for persons with wheelchair to negotiate through is an avenue that could make accommodation for persons with disabilities. So these are things that I intend to highlight to the administration of the university and also to the various campus managers as little things that we could do to make life for disabled students better. I was fortunate enough to attend Tamana campus. It was my first visit. And although Tamana campus has all the ramps and bells and whistles for persons with disabilities, there is no access from the road to the pavement. And therefore it makes it inaccessible to a person like me who uses a wheelchair. Now, this is something, as I say, a walking person would not notice. But being in this position, I would be afforded the opportunity to highlight these various aspects that the university is lacking to comply for students with disabilities. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, it does. Thank you very much. Thank you.
A pleasant afternoon or morning, sorry.
Good morning.
My name is Aitisha Megichi, president of the ECAF chapter. So I have a question to Miss, the president-elect for the ESG with regards to her plans for representation for international students, as it is international students are a minority group that are often, we're often overlooked. And so I'm asking, what are her plans where internationals are concerned?
I would say that my specialty is minority and overlooked group. So I would like to facilitate an environment of inclusion for all. As to directly what would be my plans, I cannot say step by step as to what I would put in place, because this would be a discussion I would have to have with all the members of the ESG as to what they believe is the best avenue that we have available in order to include all the members, all the sectors of the student body. But this is something that I am passionate about, and it is something that I intend to look into. And I would love any feedback from your chapter or any other chapter as to what we could do to make the international students more comfortable and more welcome and more accepted as part of the university family.
Thank you. Any other questions for the presidential candidate?
Hi, good day. Nukosi Lawrence, Point Research Treasurer. I just have a question concerning what are your plans concerning let's say students, making students more aware of the services that are available at this school, such as the library services or student support and these sort of things, because sometimes you might talk to students and they'll be like, what? I didn't even know this exists, and they attended university for years. So what is your plans as the ESG president to ensure that students are more aware of the facilities and services offered to them at the university?
My response to this might be an unfavorable response, but it is my opinion as university students, we do not like to read. We have to bombard our students with information. That has been my experience as being the president of our campus, where we had to consistently inform students of the same facts over and over in order for them to take notice. I mean, this is information we as students supposed to want to know for ourselves. Yet still, the guilds have to force feed students the information that is readily available to them. Now, this might be unpopular, but it is the truth. And the thing about it is, all we could do is to continue to bombard students by reinforcing and putting the information out there that is on the website, on the portal, on the student guild chat for the students, so that they can become aware of all their rights, all the procedures, all the little incidents and nuisances that happen within registration as it's happening now. Because I could bring, from example, students, I am no longer the president of us in campus, but yet still students call me and message me and ask me, what is going on with registration? How come I can't add my courses? What is going? But the thing about it is registration is a process. It is not one day. It is a process that is given over a period of time for students to register. And as fourth year, third year, second year students, we would not expect to have these same questions being posed to us as guild members, but yet still, there they are. So we, as the elected student governance, all we can do is the job that we were put here to do, and to continue to inform students to the best of our ability. So as to plan, a new plan? No, I don't have a new plan. What I could offer is consistency and continuity of being able to deliver the information both from the ESG office to filter down to the chapters and from the chapters to the student body population.
Thank you very much for your response.
No problem.
Any questions for Miss Melissa? Anything from the live, Mr. Jofield?
Yes, coming in from the live, we have a question. It was directed, well, it was posted during the time of the president candidates. It was, what is your plan and how will you get students to purchase more merchandise?
This is Mr. Jofield.
Well, this is towards Melissa, right?
Yes, it was posted during the time. They didn't separate it.
Okay, yes, Melissa,
Yes,
go ahead.
they asked what is your.
I think that part of purchasing merchandise from the University of Trinidad and Tobago is that we have to accept and empower that pride in our university. I think in order to encourage more sales, then we need to boost the level of pride that students have attending the University of Trinidad and Tobago. And this cannot happen in one area only, but through across the board. It has been my experience as president of VALSIN that although we promote merchandise within the campus, students complain about the pricing, they complain about the lack of variety. One thing I am most aware of is that as president, you cannot please everybody all of the time, but we try. And in order for us to do more for you, you have to be willing to do your part. And part of your part is purchasing the merchandise that is available at the various campuses. This money is what is used to allocate, to have fundraising events, to have socialization, to donate laptops to students in need. And when you do not take part of that, you are limiting not only yourself, but your fellow classmates. So if we could educate students that purchasing UTT merchandise is more than just about the merchandise itself, I believe that this would encourage students to buy more and therefore raise the sales of the university, of the guild, sorry.
Beautiful response from the candidate for ESG president. We have another question. It says, how do you plan to deal with the resistance to changes that you may want to make?
There's a saying that the only constant in life is change. And for us to move forward, sometimes we have to adapt. As various professionals heading into the working environment, we should make it a mission to attain the skill of adaptability and flexibility. There are some things that we cannot change. Although we do not like it, we need to change to evolve. This being said, we can put in place different methods for students to become more comfortable within the university environment and experience, especially online. However, it is up to the student to utilize the resources that the ESG and the Student Guild puts in place. I cannot say that because I am willing, or the ESG is willing, or the Guild is willing to implement changes, that the students will accept these changes. What we can do is show them the benefits of Guild has put in place for their benefit, because anything or any change or any resource that is manipulated or adapted is for the betterment of the Student Guild, for the student population in the long run.
Let's ensure we answer the question directly. The expansion is challenges that you may face. It may come from university stakeholders, not just the student population. So, how do you plan to deal with those challenges based on the changes that you might want to make? Um, can you expand, candidate?
In the area of the university stakeholders, I am of the strong belief that the university is the student body population and we are the voice of the university. If it is supported, if any change is supported 100% by the students of the university, then our voices will be heard and the administration will have no choice but to acknowledge and take effect of the changes that we request as the student body population.
Thank you so much. Um, that it is for the questions for the president candidate. Um, Madam Moderator.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jofiel. Uh, Now, that was the last candidate presenting. I would like to just go over. We first heard from Mr. Chris Hussein for the position of PRO, Mr. Ryan Dalgabin, position of Secretary. We then had Christian Charles and Akina Jones for the position of Treasurer, Mr. Javal Joseph, the position of VP, and then Ms. Melissa Messiah for the position of President. Thank you all today for coming and present. I don't know if there's any general questions. I'm going to open very briefly. If there's any general question that you all have for the candidates, this is for both those on Zoom and the people on the live. You have a brief moment to throw your question in. For any of the candidates, you are not limited. So, Mile, I see your hand is up.
Good day, Mile Wadali. Are you hearing right?
Yes.
All right, so good day, I'm Mile Wadali, the elected rep in the office of the president for the EKIAF chapter. This question was specifically targeted towards the ESG president candidate, but anyone can answer, right? So at the EKIAF campus, there are a couple of hearing impaired students currently enrolled. These students are in fact some of the most present individuals to the various meetings, and sometimes they would like to participate in various clubs and societies. So most of the times when they come to these meetings, they are not accompanied by an interpreter, right? So as the ESG, how do you plan on changing this?
From the Faculty of Education, specializing in special needs, there are numerous students who have had the benefit and the privilege of learning sign language as part of their curriculum. What we could do is maybe offer students the opportunity to practice the skill and offer maybe request volunteers who would be willing to come to those various meetings and interpret on behalf of the students who are hearing impaired.
Thank you for your response.
Thank you very much. Good question, Mile, and excellent answer, Melissa.
I think
Anyone else?
the candidate for the PRO position seems to want to provide an answer for the same question.
Well, I was actually going to say something along the same lines as Melissa. But what I wanted to add, just to add to the conversation, I think we need to bring about the awareness of the Constitution at UTT. Once you pay your guild fee, you are defined as a member, and constitutionally, as members, there are rights. So no one is asking for a favor. So there is a right for differently able, freedom of expression, and etc., and minority groups to express themselves as they should be. So I think we need to also bring about the awareness to the students and even throughout all guilds that there are rights constitutionally and we are bound by that. Just like in Trinidad and Tobago, we are bound by a constitution. So when I hear certain things, because I think I heard a concern earlier about infrastructure not accommodating, and I think that is very unbecoming, and that is something we need to seek to address, I think, immediately, because constitutionally that is, in my belief, it is actually being infringed on or frowned on.
Okay, thank you for your response. Well, that's interesting because I actually had a question to pose to you. Okay, so my question for you is that a major responsibility of the ESG PRO is promotion and content creation. With this in mind, seeing that we are a virtual guild, so to say, how do you plan on executing these roles and responsibilities in particular?
All right, so the first order of business, once I'm elected PRO, I would like to have a workshop with all PROs. I have actually, I actually have experience working with PR. I do press releases and PR for certain organizations. I have also I've been a part of teams that wrote speeches for parliamentarians. So I have a very, very clear understanding of what PR takes. And I understand the way media works and how, we need to connect. It's not always what we say or how we respond, but it's also the conversation that is being spoken about when it comes to the students and how we refer that information. Now, I made the mention earlier in my contribution, I was asked a question, and I do believe that each campus has their own culture. So we need to understand that what may work at Point Lisas may not always work at perhaps Shagaramas, and that is okay, because culture is a great thing. We need to embrace it. So I actually look forward to contributions through consultancy, but contributions by other PROs from the chapter guilds, because it's not a dictatorship. All of us in this together, it's one guild. I think it's not the ESG and then the chapters. We all make up one student guild. So with regards to that, I have experience with it. I also have some good contacts. I think we should bring on also influencers. I think influencers, they are a major part. They are very influential to our culture and when it comes to promotions. So I think influencers would be a good mechanism, but we need to explore all options, and through consultancy, we will definitely find that.
Could I add something to Mr. Hussein? I am a great advocate for change. I don't know if it's because of my experience as being a person with a disability, and as I stated before, I'm very adaptable. But I believe we have to cater to the audience in which we have. And sometimes when speaking, we talk about the students not willing to accept new changes and facilitate the changes of the university. But I believe it is a twofold relationship, and the university needs to start accepting the changes and the ideas of the students. We cannot be put in a position where we are concreted in an idea of the university of what we should be and how we should assimilate information given to us. They also have to be willing to expand their vision and their ideas when it comes to the students of the University of Trinidad and Tobago. We are changing, we are evolving. The world is changing and evolving, and the administration of the University of Trinidad and Tobago needs to evolve along with us.
Thank you for both response.
Thank you all. Very quickly, anything from the live, Mr. Jofield?
Okay, so thus far on the live, no further questions, but there are several accommodations being shared. So of course, I would like to extend those accommodations being shared to all the candidates that presented thus far, or at least those who would have been shared while the live was live. So there are several accommodations, claps of well done, ideas shared in regard to the website, accommodations made that they look forward to these ideas being expressed. And of course, they would like to be kept in the loop for further developments in this regard. So thank you to those on the live and those on the YouTube that are sharing your questions and your comments to the candidates. And of course, the candidates, those on the lives, have expressed their satisfaction in your presentation thus far. And keep up the good work.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Jofield, and thank you for all of you on the live who tuned in to this today. And if we have no other questions from our chapter guild officers.
Just have a question, one last
Okay.
question.
Yes, go
Lucy
proceed.
Lawrence, Point Research Treasurer. I'm posing this question to the secretary, but anyone can answer. There always seems to be some sort of disconnect between students and staff faculty in regards to what is happening at the university in terms of events, either guild or university-wise. What are your plans to improve on this barrier and, the way I try to come up with communication between both sides?
Okay, thank you for your question. I truly believe that in order for faculty to be informed of any activity going on with the guild, we need to also inform them. And this is something that happened during my tenure as treasurer. We'd always make sure that we inform faculty, and I think we need to have a good relationship with faculty and maintain that relationship with faculty, so faculty knows that okay, the students have a football tournament, so they wouldn't be able to go to this event. That was an initiative that we tried to implement, and we made it, especially with our director, because if they're not informed, they cannot make exceptions to students. So one of my goals as executive secretary is to keep the different faculty members informed and probably work with the different secretaries and the executive PRO to make sure that we communicate to them what events are happening and what is on the calendar of events for that particular year. So that when it's time for them to understand that, okay, the chapter members or the students have to attend a football tournament because this is building campus pride and this is also building campus camaraderie, right? So I believe once we inform them and we keep them in a loop and we also give them proper notice from be it the PRO, the secretary, all members, then we should be able to efficiently get them to support our initiatives. But it has to have constant communication and constant working with them and letting them know what's going on.
Okay, thank you very much. Good. So now that we have no more questions, again, your candidates that are going up for the election, I will call their names again one last time. You have Mr. Chris Hussein for the position of PRO, Mr. Ryan Dalgabin, the position of Secretary, Christian Charles and Akina Jones for the position of Treasurer, Mr. Javal Joseph, the position of Vice President, and Miss Melissa Messiah for the position of President. To all the candidates, once again, thank you for being here. Thank you for making your presentations. Thank you all the chapter guild officers for coming today and posing your questions. Thank you for those on the live for being here. Mr. Jofilis, you look like you have something to say. Yeah, make me pause. All right. Thank you all again for being here. Any comments or recommendations from anyone? And I guess Mr. Jofilis wants to go.
Yes, I believe that the candidate for the ESG PRO had raised their hands before it closed off. I only noticed after. But what I would say, candidates, is that we would allow you all to make a closing remark, and in your closing remark, very briefly, you can probably make the point in which you wanted to share. We would want to, of course, inform the persons who are viewing this live that this elections for the Executive Student Guild position for the University of Trinidad and Tobago is conducted virtually. The constituents that vote for these positions are your elected officers of the chapter guild position. You can, of course, contact your chapter guild with further comments or suggestions through any of the platforms we have available, social media, Instagram, Facebook. You can chime in give your recommendations. The election take place over the next 2 days. You can visit my portal and see further information on the various candidates. However, if you are not a student guild officer, you may not see the option to vote. But you can go and see all the campaign material, information presented on the candidates, and as well, you can view this recording on the university's YouTube channel, that it will remain there for future reference. Feel free to share your commendations, ask your questions, and of course, when the time come around for you to take part in voting will be for the chapter guild elections, and a similar forum and platform will be utilized. So thank you very much for taking part in the virtual presentation of candidates for the executive student guild elections. And we will invite at least one last time for the candidates to make their closing remarks before the moderator close off this afternoon. Thank you all.
Great. So we will start with Mr. Chris Hussein.
One moment with me. Sorry, Chris. Before you start, Avalon, could you indicate what time frame is allowed for the closing remarks, please?
Oh, no problem. You all just have about a minute or two because we want to wrap up.
Okay, thank you all for attending. Of course, I feel very privileged and honored. But what the point I wanted to make earlier to that particular question is constitutionally, again, under section 4.3.1, under the UTT agreement, they must acknowledge the student guild as a formal representative body of the members of UTT. So it's not like we asking a favor from anyone. Constitutionally, this is what they have signed on to. UTT has agreed to acknowledge us as that. Also, I think in closing, what I really want to say is that there's a constitution and we need to uphold it. I think there are many great things in that it defines all of our rights. It defines what the UTT agrees to, what our roles and responsibilities are. I've presented a plan. I invite you all to look at the plan. It's the fantastic 6 initiatives. Yes, sounds, so I look forward to working with you all. I thank SDU. I want to also thank the outgoing ESG. I think we must commend them. The work that they have done, they gave UTT, and I think the student guild are really great faceless. So now the bus is a little pause right now. We park up. So time to elect the right persons to continue that safe journey to success. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Hussein. And we'll move to Mr. Ryan Dalgabin.
Hi.
Dalgabin. Go
Hi,
ahead, Ryan.
everyone. I look forward to serving you once elected in the position. My goal is to represent student issues and make campus life better for us all, because we are all evolving and issues that we had in the past cannot stay the same. It must be resolved. And with that, I would like to thank the outgoing ESG for their services, and I will be implementing some of the things they have started. And I would like to thank you all for listening to me, and I do hope you have made the right choice. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Mr. Christian Charles.
Hi, everyone. I'd first like to thank Student Development Unit, the Student Guild, everyone on live, and all my supporters. Firstly, I'd like to say I do strongly agree with what Chris Hussein has said before, where we need to be more informed of our constitutional rights, both as student guild officers and as students. And moving forward from there, I would like to greatly expand on that, especially in the finance committee. And with me as your treasurer, I do believe we could fulfill this. And thank you to everyone again. And that will be it.
Thank you, Christian. Ms. Akina Jones.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for your time today. Thank you for the wonderful questions that you posed. In closing, I would just like to say that, as I mentioned earlier in my speech, that, our results cannot be measured in would be measured in the long-term satisfaction of our students, or else it would not be worth it. And this is a goal that I, as the ESG treasurer, would like to keep in continuing. Our main goal in terms of using our finances to basically benefit the students. All our initiatives is for the students, and it's for the students and the student guild to hold me or whoever is in this position accountable for what we do with the money. And this is something I would like to continue to do. I would like to continue to invest in our students. I would like to continue to fight for our students. I would like to continue to generate revenue that would benefit our students and increase our financial standing as an institution for the Executive Student Guild and by extension, the UTT Student Guild. So thank you all for your time and enjoy the rest of your day, and vote for the right person for ESG Treasurer. So,
Thank you, Ms. Jones. And we move on to Mr. Javal Joseph.
I just want to say thank you for allowing me to bore you for the majority of 10 minutes with statistics and facts. And I look forward to working with each and every one for you and for each and every one of you. And as you can summarize from my presentation, I want to make this organization is made up of not one of us, not the student guild, not the student body, not the UTT directorship. It's made up of all of us. And I want to make an environment where all of us can be happy. So, as I mentioned before, join me for a prouder you, a stronger we, and a better UTT. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Joseph. And last, Miss Melissa Messiah.
Good afternoon, everyone, again. I would like to thank everyone for attending today, who attended today. I would like to thank the Student Support Office for the opportunity to air our views and opinions and what our goals, what we hope to achieve as the incoming ESG. I believe that as the ESG, we have a responsibility. We are the advocates of the student body, and we are the voice of the voiceless, the students who are unable or are not in a position to air their own views and opinions and stand up for their own rights. That is the power that we have been honored with as being part of the Student Guild chapter, both chapter and ESG. I would like to tell students that they can be confident that I would fight for them. I would fight for their rights. I would fight for opportunities, and I will fight for equality of all students across all campuses. So go out there, vote for the person that you believe can do the job that you want to see on your campus, whether it is somebody who is here or somebody who is not yet present and you believe that we cannot do the job, then do that. Say that by voting. But this is in your hands, and you have the opportunity as chapter guild members to make your voices and the student voices of your chapter heard in elections tomorrow. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Miss Messiah. Well, I don't think there's much more I could say there. Please go out and vote. As she indicated, you all have the power to vote. You have three options. You either vote for the person, no, two options. You're either voting for the person, or if it's uncontested, you can vote of no confidence. So make the choice. And as she said, if you feel like the person there is still not the person you want, you could vote no confidence. All right. To vote, once again, you are going to your student portal and clicking on the Student Guild Elections tab. The voting opens from 12 tonight, and it's going to be for 48 hours. So make sure you sign on and you vote within the 48-hour period. Okay, everybody clear on that? For the chapter, are you all clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, miss.
All right, good. So again, thank you all for being here. We are going to close off now. I
Wait.
want to ask each candidate.
1 second, sorry. Just want to add and make sure that those who were not in the General Council last night, that you're aware that you must vote for each position, 1. 2, because it will not allow you to come out unless you vote for each position. You are not allowed to go back into edit. So